Spoilers! Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Immortal Cave and sandwichtrust.blogspot.ca. As usual, I'll put a link to my blog in the description. My apologies for not having a video up last week. I was sick as a dog. I was basically in the worst of it when The Girl Who Died aired. And the main reason I didn't do it was because of that, and because I really didn't have much to say about it. I'll kind of quickly go over it right now, but it was generally it was very consistent, but it was very consistently middle. Consistency is something we haven't had a lot of when it comes to this season, so it's not a bad thing. Now, I have had more time to think about this and talk to people about it, so take this for what it's worth. It's not really a first reaction, more like a week aftered, not quite sure what the word is, week aftered reaction. It was generally very consistent, very good, not great, not awful, just good. Until the last 5 minutes where the whole thing just kind of went flying out the window, and I was kind of like, okay, now you have me very interested. With two main things. Obviously, the bringing up of David Tennant's doctor, and obviously the bringing up of why he took the face he did. It was kind of like a way of his previous forms to kind of remind him of who he is, the person who saves people. Because, obviously, from David Tennant's perspective, he saved that face. So, the other thing being, obviously, a shield, whose name I could not figure out what the hell it was. Last week, at least, being immortalized by the Doctor. Now, his use of the word hybrid sparked my hand, obviously, because of what happened at the beginning of the season. But more the fact that it kind of made me realize what's going on with this, which is every single two-parter seems to have like a really big time travel shtick to it. Now, I'm going to get into my feelings on this episode, which is, I think everything involving Ashilda and how she kind of, because of the fact that she was saved and she was basically became immortal because of how she was saved. And it's everything involving that is genius. And that was really, really well done. The enemy themselves were kind of meh, like very, like kind of just thrown in at the last second just to have an enemy, which kind of bothered me. I think they really could have done something a bit different and not had an space alien. Like, they really didn't have to bring in friggin' Lion-O or whatever the hell his name was. They didn't need to. They really could have had just a shield trying to get the amulet for whatever reason. She was going to do something bad, and then they could have easily turned her into the villain for a bit, which they did, but they didn't need to bring in, like I said, Lion-O. There are other ways they could have done this. Personally speaking, I do think the episode was really well done, and I think that it was very cool how they did everything. Again, the time travel shtick for each episode, obviously the first one is what happens when you go back in time and meet somebody you know, and what happens if you affect them in ways that have already happened effectively. Obviously the 12th Doctor and Davros. Second two-parter was obviously what happens with certain types of paradoxes, like the bootstrap paradox. This one seems to be how things change with time, and how things drastically change with time. Excuse me. Like I said, I'm still getting over a cold. In this case, I think that was done very interestingly. I think it was done very well. I'm just unsure. Like I said, my biggest problem with this really is the fact that they introduced the lion aliens, because there's really no need for it. I think that they could have done it a lot better. Now, granted, this episode has some other problems. I'm not sure if I would call it a problem necessarily, but there was a scene where they distinctly, they obviously didn't show the actual babies, of course, but they kind of infer death of infants, which was really friggin' dark, especially for Doctor Who. And, of course, there was one or two dick jokes, which, thank you for that, Mr. Swift. I appreciate that. Kind of wished he would die after that, but that's neither here nor there. Quite a few, decent one-liners, bit of good comedy. But like I said, the main problem really was that lion. They kind of made him. I think it would have been better if, say, it was one of the robots from the first two. Again, excuse me, from the first part, and she had gained control of it somehow. I think it would have been better if she was effectively the main villain and she turned. I think that would have been better, at least in my opinion. I do think that Ashilda is one of the best characters we've had in years. I think the concept of her kind of looking after the Doctor's old companions or people that he's left behind, I think is very fascinating and very interesting. I love the concept of that. I think everything was just extremely well done in terms of writing. This is one of my favorite episodes this season. Like I said, the only problem is that lion thing is a problem. It is problematic because it's just unnecessary. They could have done it in such a better way that they could have had her the villain and then turn her. And then had her realize it. Instead of, oh, I'm allying myself with this alien who clearly is a good guy. Oh no, he's not a good guy? Oh no, I made a mistake. Oops-a-daisy. Like, they could have had it been so much more interesting. Is just what I'm trying to get through. But, that's kind of the thing. My voice is still kind of sounds like crap, as you probably noticed, so I'm going to take it easy for a bit. Next week's the Zygon two-parter. See how that goes. Ladies and gentlemen, see you next week. If I can ever find the stop button. There we go.